Today, we have a very special guest, a person who is claimed to be in jail with Wes Watson. But before we get to that, welcome to the Pen and the Shank, the most unusual and unique crime and prison channel experience on YouTube, where we discuss topics in and out of prison and crimes in and out of prison that most people tend to ignore, or topics that get swept under the rug for one reason or the other. And today I have a very, very, very special guest for y'all. One who I think most people are going to be very excited to hear from again, and that is Milton, who claims to have done time with Wes Watson in jail recently. Milton, how's it going, man?
Yeah,
man, you've become quite the celebrity since you've, posted your first video on the Pen and the Shank about you exposing Wes Watson's prison wallet, or should I say custom prison wallet enterprise that he plans on, embarking on once he gets released from prison. But you claim to have even more information. Is that right, Milton?
Yeah, a lot.
Okay, and so you're going to share this information with the community. And ever since you posted your first video, Milton, we have got a ton of requests coming through private emails, and the comment section just blew up with people just, really wanting to know more about you, Milton. And I thought, if it's okay with you, would you like to take a moment before we get too far into this video to answer some of the viewers' questions that they have about you?
Yeah, cool.
Awesome, man. Well, the first question, and we're just going to jump straight into it, Milton. A viewer wanted to know, and this is the way they questioned. It said, a viewer wants to know if you're going to keep the nickname that Wes gave you, Soy Boy.
It's funny that you should ask that question, or that a viewer would feel comfortable to ask me a question like that. I don't think most people understand how demeaning Wes is. Wes talks to people like you would talk to your enemy. Wes treats his friends like they are nothing more than something that needs to be flushed down a toilet. So when someone in the comments, or one of your viewers, wants to know if it's okay to call me Soy Boy instead of my real name, which is Milton, I'm perfectly fine with it. I don't have an issue with that. If Wes calls me Soy Boy, then you guys can call me Soy Boy. Whatever we got to do to keep this dialogue going about Wes, and to try to uncover, the bigger picture and the bigger issues that are in Wes's life, such as, the mental health crisis that's going on deep within inside of Wes's inner thoughts, is something I think that we should probably discuss. But I'm okay if the viewers want to call me Soy Boy, and to keep, things simple. And, hey, listen, I'm unlike Wes. I understand what comedy is. I understand what a joke is. So if you guys want to call me Soy Boy continually, then I'll start referring to myself as Soy Boy. How's that sound? No problem. Whatever.
That's awesome, Milton. So I guess from now on, you're not going to start introducing yourself as Milton, but you're actually going to introduce yourself as Soy Boy. Is that right? Awesome, man. So now, ladies and gentlemen, I give to you officially Soy Boy, Wes Watson's cellmate while he was in jail. All right, Soy Boy. So the thing that I want to ask you is, me and you spoke over the telephone, and you said that you have something exclusive about a shakedown that happened while you were in jail with Wes Watson, and the officers did a midnight shakedown, and you said what they found in Wes Watson's cell literally blew your mind. You care to elaborate? And I'm just going to kind of give you the mic, and you can share with the audience exactly what happened during that shakedown and what exactly the officers found in Wes's cell.
Absolutely. That shakedown that night was one of the craziest shakedowns that I've ever witnessed inside of a jail. We were just sleeping, and it's out of nowhere, man. The lights come on, and you just hear dogs barking, and something's going on. And so it's a shakedown. And so at this time, I'm in a different cell, and Wes is in a one-man cell because, Wes had pull. He knew how to finagle and finesse the prison system, because Wes is what you call a convict. He's been in prison so long that he knows how to, move and groove, as they say, and finesse the system. And so Wes was able to get a two-man cell and turn it into a one-man cell. He slept on the bottom bunk, and on the top of Wes's bunk is where he kept all of his prison paperwork and all of his canteen, which his canteen was always on point. Wes knew how to keep things on point. Wes knew how to keep his cell in order, and it was organized. I'll give Wes that much. But this particular night, nobody expected a shakedown in the middle of the night. And once the shakedown was done, all that I remember is thinking to myself, yo, I hope Wes is okay, because Wes ran the tier. Wes was what you might call a tier rep. And when the officers came out of Wes's cell and they had a clear plastic bag, I could not believe my eyes what I was seeing. I mean, they walked out, and it was almost like the officers targeted Wes's cell. And in retrospect, looking back, I realized that an informant must have sent a kite, which is a letter that's written. It's paperwork. It's a letter that they write, and it finds its way to the warden or a lieutenant or a captain or anybody like that who can whistle blow on what's going on and on the tier. And when they came out of Wes's cell with the clear bag, and written on a clear bag it said evidence, it was, to say the least, it was probably one of the most shocking things that I've ever witnessed inside of a prison. I mean, I've seen convicts get caught with contraband, the regular stuff, tattooing equipment, narcotics, homemade hooch, fruit that's percolating inside of a bag so that they can make homemade wine, and moonshine, so to speak. I've seen these things get confiscated. I've seen cell phones get confiscated. I've seen shanks get confiscated. But I have never seen what came out of Wes's cell that particular night get confiscated inside any jail that I've been to. And after many appeals, Wes was able to get his evidence back because, like I said, Wes is a finagler. He knows how to move and groove in the system. And Wes found a way to file an appeal while he was in prison against the staff for violating his constitutional rights. And I have with me in my possession the exact bag of evidence that was found in Wes Watson's cell. And I'm going to share it with y'all right now. This is what I saw that particular night. An officer walking out with a bag that you could see. It had $14 on it, and it had evidence. And you could see it says Wes Watson. And they walked out with this bag. And I was looking like, does Wes Watson have baby dolls inside a prison? Was that Barbies that I just saw? It was literally a bag, and they were walking fast, kind of walking. It was jiggling like this. And I'm like, man, I think that just came from Wes's cell, and it looks like baby dolls or Barbies, and it's action figures. And when Wes filed the appeal, he got this bag back because it was unconstitutional the way they shook down his cell, and he got this back, and now everybody knew, so he had to start answering questions, and Wes went into typical Wes mode. This is what he said. Sorry, I had to change my gloves because I want to dissect exactly what was in the evidence bag that was found in Wes Watson's cell. So me and a couple of the homies, we get together and we're like, hey, let's go figure out what's going on with Wes. And we walk to Wes Watson's cell, and we walk in and we're like, yo, Wes, what's up, bro? And he's like, what do you mean, what's up? Can't you see I'm in here freaking thinking, freaking breathing air that I don't need you breathing in the same space that I'm sitting in right now, contemplating and thinking about what's going on in the atmosphere of the world and around me. I'm contemplating things that you, Soy Boy, can't contemplate. And I'm like, yo, cool, Wes, we just want to ask you about the evidence bag that was taken out of your cell. And he's like, there y'all go again, wanting to know about what's going on in my life. Let me tell you something, Soy Boy. There are some things that you just don't need to know. And at that time, a couple of the other homies that were with me, these were some big busting homies, and they're like, yo, Wes, no, we want to know what's in the bag. And then Wes is like, yeah, I get it, man. It's just this Soy Boy right here that keeps trying to dissect me, keeps asking me about the bag. And one of the homies looks at Wes, he's like, yo, homie, what's in the bag? And Wes is like, man, it's all good, man. And Wes reaches underneath his bed, And he pulls out this bag. And he said, oh, it's just something else that I'm working on. I'm always trying to elevate and level up to the next level in life. And he said, I came up with a new strategy that's going to break all strategies because no convict, no ex-prisoner has ever thought of this in their life. And he says, I had one of my Instagram baddies go to a garage sale, and they went to the garage sale on the flea market with a specific job, and that was to find me prototypes. And I'm like, yo, Wes, prototypes? He's like, prototypes, Soy Boy. You don't know what a freaking prototype is? And I'm like, yo, Wes, I know what a prototype is, but you're like blowing my mind right now. He said everything I do is blow minds because I'm that deep. I have that much depth in my soul that the stuff that I say goes into the atmosphere, and I believe it goes to some kind of higher power that's out there, and it reflects and lands back on me, and it skips over you, Soy Boy. Do you get it? I'm like, yo, Wes, cool. And he reaches in the bag because the homies are still standing there in the cell. And he says, so I tell my Instagram baddie, I say, listen, I'm on the phone with her, and I say, you need to go to the garage sale and find what I'm looking for. And she's like, are you looking for like Barbies? He says, it's not Barbies, it's action figures. And she's like, okay, cool, Wes, I'll do my best. You better do as good as I tell you to do. And she goes, and she comes back, and she sneaks into the prison these action figures. And there's this action figure that comes out the bag, and this is the actual action figure, and it's some dude, and it's got writing, and I want to zoom in right here. If you look on the face, Wes Watson literally drew tattoos that mimic his tattoos on this action figure. And I'm like, yo, Wes, what are you going to do with that? He's like, this is a prototype of a prototype that's going to be of me. I'm going to be the first inmate to ever have an action figure line that's based on him. And this is the first prototype. And I'm like, yo, Wes, dude, that is bad, man. That's badass. And he's like, I don't need you, Soy Boy, to ride my jock and tell me how badass it is. It's badass because I say it's badass. And I'm looking, I'm like, yo, Wes, man, where'd you get that figure? It looks like some Mexican bootleg. He's like, you wouldn't know a Mexican bootleg if it slapped you in your face. And I'm like, yo, Wes, cool. And I'm like, yo, Wes, why'd you draw tattoos on him? He's like, I need to find somebody who's a good artist, man, to mimic my tattoos because this is going to be the first prototype of me. And I'm like, yo, dude, you made a prototype of yourself? He's like, of course I did, Soy Boy. And he said, let me show y'all something. And the homies are like, yo, Wes, this is some weird stuff, Holmes. And Wes is like, I see money in it. And the homies are like, respect, Holmes. He's like, oh, good, man. And they just kind of leave the cell. And it's just me and Wes sitting in there. And Wes is reaching into the bag of goodies. And he pulls out this knife. And he said, that's a shank. And I said, yo, Wes, let me ask you a question. It looks like kind of like, you know, like a He-Man action figure. He said, I'm glad you would bring up He-Man. He said, because I've been sitting here, and he said, you know, I'm in the cell, and he said, he lifted up the thing, he said, by the power of Shank Skull. I said, by the power of Gay Skull? He's like, what'd you say? I said, no, Wes, the power of Shank Skull? He said, yeah. So this guy's going to lift up his shank and say, by the power of Shank Skull. And I'm like, Gay Skull, what? And he's like, Shank Skull. I'm like, yeah, where's Shank Skull? And he said, this dude transforms, and I don't have his transformation yet. And I'm like, yo, Wes, you got the penitentiary edition of Masters of the Universe. And he's like, nah, I didn't copy that. And I'm like, I'm not saying you did, Wes. He's like, yeah, so there's this guy, and he has this shank, and he said, and he is going to have an Instagram model. And I'm like, yo, Wes, you got an Instagram model? He's like, of course I have an Instagram model. And so he's got this baby dolls in his cell, and he's in the cell at night playing with baby dolls. And I'm like, yo, Wes, what is this? And he's like, this is Wes, I got you, baby. I got you, baby. And she's like, let me go, let me go. He's like, you ain't going nowhere. I paid for everything. I paid for everything. And all of a sudden, screaming. And I'm like, that's what you were doing in your cell late at night. Everybody thought you was doing burpees, but you were in there playing with your action figures. And he's like, I wasn't playing with action figures. I was playing with my future while I'm building stuff like custom prison wallets in Wes Watson's action figure line. You're in your cell sleeping because you don't have deeper thoughts. And I'm like, yo, chill, Wes. He's like, I'm not chilling. I'm like, okay, so how many Instagram models are you going to have? He's like, this is the first one. I'm going to have an Instagram model of every flavor. And Wes Watson's going to be able to take them and does what he wants. And I'm like, yo, Wes, that's awesome. And he's like, yeah, that's not it. Let me show you what else I got here. And Wes reaches in the bag and he's like, a villain. I'm like, yo, Wes, it's a villain. Who is that? He's like, that's the 7-foot monster. And the 7-foot monster is going to be coming. Rah, rah, rah. And then Wes is going to pull out the shank. And he's going to take out the 7-foot monster. He's like, I got the 7-foot monster. And I'm like, that's what you were doing in your cell all night, grunting and groaning. You were pretending like you was beating up the 7-foot monster. He's like, I did beat him up by myself. And I look in the bag. I'm like, yo, Wes, what's in that bag? And he's like, what you mean? I was like, yo, what's those little pieces of paper? And I'm like, Wes, yo, no. He's like, what? I'm like, Wes. And he's like, what? Soy Boy? I was like, is that your paperwork? He's like, yeah, you can't have a Wes Watson action figure without having paperwork. And so he reaches in the bag and he's pulling out these little bitty tiny pieces of paper. And he pulls out this piece of paper. And I'm like, yo, Wes, that's your paperwork. He's like, yeah, so each action figure is going to come with accessories, and mine's going to come with my paperwork. And he's like, you'll be able to fold the paperwork up, and you'll be able to put it in your custom prison wallet. I'm like, yo, Wes, the action figures are going to be able to hoop paperwork? Dude, that's like a gimmick, like a light-up gimmick, or like a arm popping gimmick. He's like, this is no gimmick, homie. This is real. And so he's going to have an action figure that hoops the paperwork. And I'm like, yo, Wes, this is wild. He's like, yeah, I know. He's like, I got to do something to make a comeback. And I'm like, Wes, you are really creative, dude. Everything you do is awesome. He's like, I know it is, Soy Boy. So Wes looks at me and he holds the action figure up for the last time. And he's like, you know, in Masters of the Universe, they have like Prince Adam. And he said, mine's going to be more like Wes Badham. I said, Wes Badham, more like Baltard. He's like, what'd you say? I said, nothing, Wes. He's like, no, Prince Badham. And I was like, what does Prince Badham mean? And he was like, yo, so this is Wes. And he said, this is an Instagram model who doesn't act right. And bam, Wes Badham. I'm like, yo, Wes, you might want to rethink that. I don't think any action figure line's going to be interested in licensing you bad Instagram models. And he's like, yeah, I guess you're right. And he's like, yeah, I tried contacting Playmates and Kenner and all these toy companies, and you know, nobody's interested. And I'm like, well, what'd you say to him? I'm like, yeah, I wrote him a letter, and I'm like, I got this action figure based on me. You do know who I am, and I'm Wes Watson, and I'm gonna hoop paperwork into an action figure. And he's like, I didn't hear anything back. He said, maybe the action figure line's not where I need to put my energy. Just stay focused on those custom prison wallets. And I'm like, yo, Wes, do what's best for you, man. Just make a comeback. He's like, yeah, Soy Boy, I really would like to make a comeback. He's like, you know, everybody loves a comeback story. And I'm like, that's right, Wes, that's right. He's like, yeah, maybe I should humble myself. And I'm like, yo, Wes, exactly. He's like, I ain't never going to humble myself. When I get out, I'm coming after any and everybody. And I'm like, yo, Wes.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, there you had it. Milton. Soy Boy. Get it right in the comments. If you appreciate Soy Boy and you want to see more Soy Boy, drop in the comments a thumbs up. If you have any questions for Soy Boy, put them in the comments section. Let's share them. Let's get this conversation starting. And what do you think about Wes Watson's action figure or idea to have custom action figures made after him? I thought that was a bit insane. Anyway, let's get it. Like, subscribe, comment to the pin and the shank. Oh yeah, and if you didn't get a chance, go watch this video. It's the exclusive video that actually blew up on YouTube, if you haven't seen it yet, where Soy Boy dropped the exclusive information and first exclusive video about Wes Watson. I think you're going to enjoy it.